2020 Virtual LabTech. My name is Miles Green. I'm the team lead for Audiovisual Services, and I'd like to talk to you about some advanced Zoom topics. So, the first topic, making sure that you are aware of how to configure your account. Huge. Next, understanding the integration between Zoom and Google Calendar. Followed by secure access to your meetings. And I would have to say these three topics probably represent about 80% of the requests that we have coming into the help desk on a daily basis regarding Zoom. Beyond that, we want to make sure you know how to enable interactive features and a word about hosting webinars, whether you need one, what does that mean, how to request one, etc. And last but not least, how to get help with Zoom when you do have a problem. So, what is the 10,000-foot view of the Zoom landscape? Well, as the host of the Zoom meeting, all of the controls are within your hands. But you need to make sure that you review your account settings and scheduling options at zoom.lbl.gov so that you can exercise those controls. Okay, and what I mean is go to zoom.lbl.gov, click My Account in the upper right-hand corner. It always starts on the meeting list. Your profile is there. This is where your picture feeds from, but your settings are also there. And this is a long list with a lot of options, and we'll cover some of them today to make sure you're aware of how to get the most out of your Zoom account. Now, we have a lot of questions that come in and say, I couldn't record, or I couldn't promote someone, or I didn't see the breakout rooms, or there was something going on that I wasn't the host of my own meeting. What's going on there? And the answer is, you need to make sure that you sign in to the Zoom desktop application before you join the meeting or claim the host role. So what does that mean? How do we sign in? Let me just go really quickly over the process. If you have a Mac, you'll open your Finder, find the Zoom launcher, drag it to your toolbar. On Windows PC, you would type Zoom in the search bar, find the launcher, drag it to your toolbar. Zoom always comes up with the option to join a meeting or sign in. We want you to sign in with Google. Okay, if you're already logged into the browser, as I am now, it'll just ask you to identify your account, choose your lbl.gov account. If it's the first time you're signing in the morning, you'll enter your LDAP, it may ask for your MFA, and you're in. For external people, it's a similar process, but have them use SSO. This is for non-lbl.gov attendees of your meetings or webinars. For LBNL people, the LBNL is already pre-filled. External people need to click I don't know the company domain. It will prompt them to enter their email address. After completing their authentication process, it will redirect them to open the Zoom app. So I want to be really clear. There's three things going on here. When you click a link in Calendar, the browser identifies and authenticates you and then takes you into the Zoom desktop application. So what I tell people every day is just open the Zoom desktop application, log in, sign in with Google. This is your starting point. Once you're here, you can minimize the app and then click your calendar links all day without a problem. Okay, so what happens though if you're already in the meeting, you don't want to leave, sign in and come back? That's a pain. Well, you can claim the host role. Windows or Mac. Let's see. At the bottom of the participant list in a Zoom meeting, there's a Claim Host button. When you click that Claim Host button, it'll ask for your host key. That lives within your zoom.lbl.gov profile. You'll see my picture is there. It shows the capacity that my account can handle. And right down at the bottom, it shows my host key. Now, if I click Show, I show everyone my host key. I'm not going to do that. But if I did make that mistake, I could click Edit and change my host key. So the host key is a really important tool that allows you to claim the host role of a meeting on the fly, because clicking a calendar link and going in does not do it automatically. Okay? So now that you're the host of the meeting, what are you going to do with that power? Well, use your in-meeting security controls. Problems in Zoom usually are related to someone who is supposed to be there who can't get in, or someone who isn't supposed to be there, and how do we get them out, right? Windows or Mac, the answer is click the security button at the bottom of your toolbar. From there, you can lock the meeting, enable the waiting room, What I like to do is put someone in the waiting room, send them a message, ask them, who are you? If I don't like the answer, vamos, right? I can stop participants' ability to share their screen, stop their chat. They can't annotate on the screen anymore. I could remove someone and report them right from the security icon. So it's a really powerful tool that they've introduced, which allows you to exercise control over your meetings. Okay. The next thing, after the meeting is over, well, who attended? Can I get an attendee report? Yes, you can. Go to zoom.lbl.gov. Click on the Reports tab on the left side. You'll select Usage Reports, and then you can use the date picker to select a range. Once you find the meeting you're looking for, you can actually generate a CSV file with everyone who attended your meeting. And what I typically do is copy it into a Google Sheet and then share that with who's ever interested. The last part of the 10,000 foot view of the Zoom landscape at Berkeley Lab is keep your Zoom app up to date. Okay, the Zoom app will not automatically update itself. The way to update it is to click on your profile picture in the upper right hand corner within the Zoom app and then go check for updates. Now, if there is a mandatory update, there'll be a bar across the middle of the screen and say you must update. Currently, they are up to version 5.4.1. So I would recommend just checking it on a weekly basis. Make sure your Zoom is up to date so that you can take advantage of options, features, and cool stuff that they introduce. So let's drill down a little deeper on our first topic, configuring your Zoom account. You have to review your settings at zoom.lbl.gov. A couple of things that I recommend people turn on: auto-saving chats, file transfer. You can actually send files through the Zoom chat, and then the co-host, which is little known that that's actually an option that you need to turn on. So once again, zoom.lbl.gov, I was already right here at my profile. If I go to settings, right there in meeting basic, auto saving chats. You can save the chat at the bottom of the chat box, but if you forget, it's lost. We can't get it back for you. So you want to auto save the chat, you want to turn on file transfer, and also the co-host option, which is right there. So let's see. The next thing I would really recommend for everyone is to check your view options for the optimal presenter experience. Now this happens all the time, right? We share our screen and then things kind of disappear, and no one likes that. Let me back up just a second. If I want to share my screen on Windows or Mac, I would open whatever it is I want to share outside of Zoom. Come to Zoom, press share screen, and then select from the second row. Don't share your desktop, right? You all know how to share your screen, do your thing, but did you know that you can actually show your Zoom windows during screen share, which is huge. It's worth also pointing out that if you're using dual monitors on 10.15 Catalina for Mac, you do have to enable screen recording in your security and system preferences. So let's go back to showing your Zoom windows during screen share. It's right there, right under the co-host. You see polling is in there in my settings, and always show the meeting control bar and always show my Zoom windows during screen share. What that means is that when I share my screen, by default, Zoom hides all of my windows because it wants to put my slide in a full screen mode. But then I can't see where to stop my share. I can't see the chat button. I can't see anything else while I'm sharing. What this does is keep all of your controls within your view while you're screen sharing. Okay, to answer the question that just came in chat. You can also specify who can share. All participants, just the host, or you can make it so that the host can override someone else's share. So that's really important to check your view options, make sure things are set so that you have the optimal presenter experience. The next thing I would really recommend that people sometimes don't know about is scheduling privileges. So if I go back to my settings, click on Other, it jumps me way down to the bottom of a long list. There I can assign scheduling privilege to someone. And what that does is, if you have an admin who schedules meetings on your behalf, most likely that person has Google Calendar permissions on your behalf, but they have their own Zoom account. So the calendar comes from you and the Zoom is hosted by your admin. If you give that person scheduling privilege, just click the plus, enter an lbl.gov email address there. they will have the ability to make the Google Calendar come from you, invite, and also the Zoom is hosted by you. And so let me go to really quickly under my meetings tab. If I schedule a meeting, what they'll be looking for is this pull down right here, schedule for myself or video streaming. And that also works in the calendar plugin as well. So scheduling privilege is really important. It's something that you have to configure within your Zoom account. That leads me right into my next topic, which is Google Calendar integration. It's important to understand how Google Calendar works with your Zoom account. In September of 2020, Zoom.us introduced enhanced scheduling. And what that means is that Google Calendar is now synced with your Zoom account in a way that it wasn't previously. So if you make a change, a deletion, if you move things around in Google Calendar, it will automatically apply to your Zoom account. And so what happens is I create meeting A, then I create meeting B. They both have the same meeting ID. I copied and pasted, which is a no-no. When I deleted meeting B, now meeting A is still sitting there on my calendar, but when people try to click it, they will say it's invalid and they can't get in. So now everyone is calling saying, oh, what happened? I can't get in. Well, you want to make sure that you check the recently deleted folder within your zoom.lbl.gov account. Because if you meant to or if you didn't, but you deleted something or changed the date and time, properties, title, anything like that within Google Calendar, it will automatically apply to your Zoom account. So there's actually an FAQ at zoom.lbl.gov which covers this topic. And I'll just show you really quickly, zoom.lbl.gov, frequently asked questions right there. This is the same site where we're going to my account for all the other information. So that's really important to know about, and make sure that the rule of thumb is that your zoom.lbl.gov account is the source of truth. Make sure that what's ever there matches your calendar. Okay? Next, secure access to your meetings. People can't get in, people can't be kicked out. This is a common question people ask me every day. How do I make sure my meetings are secure and I'm not going to have any problems? Well, this is what you do. Generate a random meeting ID to start. Use passcodes when you're scheduling. Passcodes are not required, but they're highly recommended. And then the third level is only authenticated users can join. So those are your first 3 levels of how to make sure that your meetings are secure when you schedule. Let's go back to where I was. I was right there at scheduling a meeting. I call it whatever I want, select the time and date. If I want it recurring, I can set it daily, weekly. I can end it in a certain date or after a certain number of occurrences. If I set a recurring meeting, it'll show me all of the occurrences after I hit save. Registration, what does that mean? Well, they'll just ask for the user's first and last name and email address, and then it will give them the link to join and add to their calendar. We already covered the scheduling privilege, so whether it's for me or for my boss, we generate a random meeting ID. A personal meeting ID is a static value, right? So this is like my lab desk extension. I don't want to use that for all my meetings because once someone knows that number, they can join it at any time, particularly if that option is on, which we'll cover in a second. Use a passcode. You can turn on the waiting room when scheduling, or you can turn it on the fly using the security button as we mentioned. I like to start with my videos on. People can call in from computer audio or telephone, but I don't like people to be on audio when they join. So I keep mute on entry. And as I mentioned, you don't want to allow participants to join anytime. So we get a lot of questions. Hey, I got this weird email from Zoom. Somebody's trying to join my meeting ID. The answer is go to your zoom.lbl.gov account, disallow participants to join at any time. Okay. Require authentication. I can do lbl.gov or just Zoom, which means it will force them to sign into whatever account that they have. I can also set up breakout rooms, create the room, call it whatever I want, add a participant. If it's an lbl.gov person, I need only put in their name, comes right up, and save. It's worth pointing out that in order for that person to show up in the pre-assigned breakout room or to jump between breakout rooms on their own, they need to upgrade to the newest version, which is, I believe, 5.3 allows you to do that. You can set automatic recording, this computer or to the cloud. We recommend cloud recording. And you can also set an alternative host. I want to mention that you should use the web interface, zoom.lbl.gov, for alternative hosts. Don't use the calendar plugin. If you put an alternative host in the calendar plugin, it will stay there forever and you'll hate it. The last thing is language interpretation. I can assign myself, not at Yahoo, I can assign myself to type from English to French. Right? Then I can assign another attendee to type, another interpreter to type in another language, etc., etc. And it's really powerful because what happens is if I'm typing from English to French, the next one is going from French to English, the next one is typing from Arabic to whatever, the attendees can choose what language they want to view and it comes up as a closed caption. So it's really awesome. If I hit save right now, it'll say, make sure you enter the email addresses. So I'll go away from this. But that, in my opinion, is how you set up a secure meeting utilizing the options that we've covered so far. So only authenticated users can join is powerful. Do not use the participants can join anytime, and turn on the waiting room off and on at your discretion. Finally, you can host up to 2 concurrent meetings. You'll be able to start the first meeting. You'll be able to start the second meeting. If you want to go on to a third, you need to pass the host control to someone else. However, I did a little case study, which I want to show you really quickly, where I was able to get multiple meetings going at once. What I did was I scheduled 4 meetings within my zoom.lbl.gov account. I assigned 3 separate co-hosts, lbl.gov users. I was able to start the first meeting. My co-host number 2 out of 3 was able to start meeting 3. So I had 1 and 3 going, no problem, right? My co-host number 2 and number 4 got an error that said end your other meeting in progress, but they didn't have another meeting in progress. So they clicked end other meeting, et voila. I had 4 meetings going at the same time at 10:32 a.m. So it is possible to have 2 on your own, up to 4 that we're aware of, as long as you have 3 separate lbl.gov co-hosts. So that's a powerful tool which you can use. Let's move right on to the next topic. Interactive features. Zoom is something that we did not choose, right? We're stuck with it. But you can enable some interactive features in order to liven up your meetings a little bit. One that I like is polling. And let me just go through a couple and then I'll show you. Annotation in whiteboard, breakout rooms, closed captioning, and language interpretation. So polling is one of my favorites. I'll launch a poll right here. You'll be able to see. I'll give people just 30 seconds or so to vote. What do you love, hate most about Zoom? Zoom, a love-hate relationship. So I see those votes coming in. It looks like screen sharing is leading the pack, followed by Google Calendar. The sign-in process is a lot lower than I would have expected. And yes, to the question, this poll was prepared in advance. You would do that right within your zoom.lbl.gov account. All right, we'll just give this another 10 seconds or so for all the votes to come in. And we end the poll. If I share the result, you'll see that the biggest issue that people loved or hated most about Zoom was the screen sharing. So polling is a cool, interactive thing that you can use in order to get feedback from people, which is pretty cool. And then if I go back into my account, I was scheduling a meeting, right? We'll cancel that. We'll go into our settings. I left off right here. Auto saving chats, co-host, polling. We talked about this stuff, but look, annotation and whiteboard is also there. And I just want to point out that the whiteboard appears, but I can't write on it is a big question people ask. Well, the reason is because you have to enable annotation as well. Okay, so language interpretation, live streaming to YouTube are also right here within my settings. Breakout room is there. Language interpretation, you can see that I have up to 9 languages that I can select. So the point is that go into your Zoom account, configure it, make sure you have all these cool options enabled, and then when you're scheduling, exercise the control within your hands by turning things on. I think earlier there was a mention of virtual backgrounds, and we've added some new virtual backgrounds for everyone at the lab to use. So these are cool things that you can use. Make sure that you're making the most out of your experience. Beyond that, I would say check out some of the advanced features that that Zoom has to offer. I know I'm running a little bit over my time, but we'll get right there, Luis. Thank you. One thing I would really mention for everyone is try filters. Maybe not that one with the bunny ears, right? But if you change the hue of your screen, sometimes it improves the overall video quality. Another thing that I would say is touch up my appearance, I don't use. But the adjust for low light is an important option. The light should be facing your face, so it's important to backlight your camera. As you know, we're all working at home. We can't always do that. We have a window on behind us, so you can use that adjust for low light option. And I'll do it right now to my video, and you can see that makes me quiet a bit darker. And I keep it just above 50%, so you can see that I'm golden. Ding. The other thing is suppressing background noise, right? The truck goes by, the barking dog, the blender. I want everyone to hear how this tool suppresses the background noise. This is about a 10-second video. Check this out. And that's it. So you can see that person had some pretty loud guitar going in the background, and they were able to suppress the background noise within the audio settings. All right. Reactions are whatever, thumbs up, thumbs down. That's silly. But one thing I will point out to everyone that you can now use a PowerPoint as your virtual background. So it's cool. You kind of orient yourself in the corner, and then you can point to what it is that you're trying to demonstrate, making it look like you're right in front of the screen. So advanced features are cool. And since I'm running out of time, virtual backgrounds are there. We touched on that. Let's just give 1 minute to Zoom webinars before we jump into questions, okay? What is a Zoom webinar? It's what you're in right now. In a Zoom webinar, only the host can turn on their camera and mic. What we recommend is that, it's a live broadcast. It's meant for 10 people to give a lot of information to a bunch of people with limited interaction. If you have less than 300 people, your regular account can handle that. If you have more than 300 people, you can request a webinar. How you would do that? Well, you go to streaming.lbl.gov, click on the services at the top menu, and you can fill out an AV request form. What we request is that you give us all the information that you can about the event, the title, the date, the time, all of the panelists' information. And if you don't have it, don't fill out the AV request yet. Wait until you are ready with all your info. We'll either schedule one on your behalf or we'll assign one for you. A quick note to roles within a webinar. The host is the top level, right? We can start or end the webinar. The panelist is an honored guest. They're just there to share their screen, give their talk, turn on their mic, say what they have to say. That's it. The attendee, on the other hand, as you all are now, you're just there to watch. You can't turn on your camera or mic. You can't interrupt. You can't stop the meeting. All you can do is send your feedback by chat. Okay, so there's 3 levels of a webinar. Finally, to wrap up, I would say how to get help, as Tammy mentioned. Go to streaming.lbl.gov, click on services and AV request form if you need real-time remote support. If something weird happens during a meeting and you want to get some answers about it, send an email to help@lbl.gov. Give us the date, the meeting ID, a description. What will happen is the help desk will take in your request. They will attempt to resolve it. If not, then they will escalate it to a subject matter expert within 2 business hours. All right. We actually have a lot of meetings going on, almost 8,000 in the month of January. Once shelter in place hit, it went to over 22,000. 38,000 plus meetings in June, and we did eclipse 40,000 in just October. So what we try to say to everyone, yes, we can help you, but our department is small. You have Luis, the guru, you have myself, the resident groove lounger, and 2 to 4 people at all times are available at the help desk to help you. So coming to us directly is not always your fastest path. In case we're busy doing something, feed it through the help desk. They will try to help you. They will ping us if you need any help. So in closing, I would just like to say, go to zoom.lbl.gov. Click on my account in the upper right-hand corner. Most, if not all of the answers to your questions are there. And you will be able to go forward with confidence, I promise. So last but not least, come visit me at the virtual tent. and we'll open it right up to questions.
All right, Miles, that was a great presentation. Thank you. Thank you for that. Miles, can you remind me where I can go for support related to Zoom?
The first thing you do is email help@lbl.gov, give us the meeting ID, give us the date so that we can actually do some research and come back to you with answers.
Perfect. All right, so we have quite a few questions. First question, and I'll go through them quickly because we only have 5 minutes. If you accidentally remove someone during a meeting, which IP bans them, can you get them back in during the meeting, and if so, how?
So there is actually an option within your Zoom account to allow removed participants to rejoin. So go to zoom.lbl.gov, click my account under your settings and search for allow participants to rejoin. If you have that enabled, they can get back in.
Perfect. All right, here's another one. Can polls be prepared in advance?
Polls can be prepared in advance. When you schedule the meeting, then you'll see at the bottom, it says polling. You can add a poll, and I did that. I actually wrote that beforehand. That way, when I came to that part of my presentation, I was just able to launch it. So you can add as many as 10 or 15 polls, I believe.
Right, and you can do that at zoom.lbl.gov under account.
Within your account.
Perfect. All right, here we go. As a participant, is it possible to attend 2 or more meetings at the same time? If so, how? Some really good questions.
Yeah, so we talked about hosting meetings, right? Multiple concurrent meetings. You can attend multiple concurrent meetings as well, but it depends on how the meeting is set up. So you're not going to be able to authenticate from multiple devices, right? It'll tell you you've been signed out because you signed in from another device. But if the meeting doesn't require authentication, you can jump in multiple meetings as a guest.
Great. I've encountered issues with editing a recorded Zoom meeting. What does the optimized recording for third-party video editing option do?
The optimize for third-party video editing, it formats the video so that you can bring it into iMovie, into QuickTime Edit, and be able to do editing on the fly by seeing where your timestamp marks are. It'll take out 10 seconds or 30 seconds without you having to squint and try to find that exact point for you.
All right, here's another one. How to access results after the meeting has ended?
So we talked about that. Go to zoom.lbl.gov, click My Account in the upper right-hand corner, navigate to the Reports tab. Use the date picker to select a range, find the meeting, and you can generate a CSV of your attendee report.
Great, and we have quite a few, but we only have 3 minutes, so let's see how many we can get in. Can I add a Zoom password after a meeting invitation has been sent in Google Calendar?
So that's a good question. Remember, your Zoom account is your source of truth, not your Google Calendar. So if you've already created an event in Google Calendar, you already have the meeting set up, now you want to add the password, you would go into your Zoom account, add the password there, copy the invitation, and then update the Google Calendar with the new information.
Got it. All right. Do the virtual backgrounds still require huge PC resources, new powerful machines?
That's a good question. I got an email just in October, late October, that said, what's new in Zoom? And one of the things that they have tried to enhance, add to the app, was less PC processing power that it requires. So I think that's something that they are aware of and working on. If you are still on version 4.6 or 5.0, it probably tells you can't do it at all. Once you get to 5.3, 5.4, then it should look a lot better for you.
All right, and here goes the last one. My Zoom has not updated. Is there a way to download that update, or should we wait until the lab pushes the update? Which is a great question to tell people how to force downloads of updates.
Yeah, so Zoom.us, the company, does not have an automatic updater, but what we recommend is if you're on a Mac, you can click Zoom.us in the upper left-hand corner, check for updates. On PC, you can't do it while you're in a meeting, but after your meeting ends, when you're at the home screen of your app, you click the upper right-hand corner, check for updates. Now, if your Zoom app is so old that it has to update or it won't join a meeting, you will see a banner across the top of your Zoom app telling you to run the update.
Perfect. Thank you, Miles. Great presentation, great answers. We have quite a few more questions, but we'll address those offline.